sad moments for the court when I see a father who stands before me and you've never seen your child. And then sometimes I feel like that is exactly why paternity court needs to exist. But what's obvious is this child is in this paternity limbo, going from place to place and home to home. He doesn't know who his father is because his mother doesn't know who his father is. Why are you young people running around having unprotected sex with people you knew for 2 weeks? You worrying me now. Because, no, you're a beautiful young girl, and I don't want you living up to your last name.
There was enough anger to go around in this court case. Ms. Colbert appeared in court, boiling like a volcano, to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he was the only man who could have fathered her twins. But Mr. Tubbins claimed there was no way he could be the father because he found out that she had slept with 2 of his family members.
Ms. Colbert, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he is the father of your 9-month-old twins, Ariel and Adonis Colbert.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Tubbins, you say you know you're not the twins' father and claim that you uncovered that Ms. Colbert slept with not 1, but 2 of your family members.
Yes, Your Honor.
Everyone wanted to know what kind of relationship Mr. Tubbins and Ms. Colbert had that would make her want to sleep with his family members. Well, guess what? They were actually married. They got married about a month after they met each other, and she claimed it was because of Mr. Tubbins' religion.
I married him 1 month after dating, and it was because of his religion issues. He wanted to become married, and because he wanted to use me. He was living in a house with a 2-year-old child with no hot water and no electricity, and I felt bad for him, and I allowed him to come to my house and stay.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he impregnates me.
In no time, accusations started to fly about, and the secrets of their relationship started to come to light. After their marriage, less than 3 weeks into the marriage, Mrs. Colbert hops out of nowhere and tells Mr. Tubbins she's pregnant, and in his mind, it just doesn't make sense.
About 3 weeks after you married her, she told you she was pregnant.
Yes.
And immediately you questioned the twins.
Yes, because she lied from the beginning. She told me that the last person that she slept with was 3 months prior before we started trying to get together.
If there's anything Ms. Colbert was sure of, it was the fact that she had the worst taste in men, and getting intimate with Mr. Tubbins was the worst mistake of her life. She claimed he was using her because she loved him and wanted to get him out of a messy position in his life.
He just used me. He was using my truck. He ain't have no way to get around, and I was helping him.
And that's who you chose to sleep with?
It was the worst mistake of my life.
Exactly.
It was the worst mistake of my life.
So you let him move in, then you married him?
Yes, I did. And that was the worst mistake that I ever made in my life.
Mr. Tubbins was still hitting the nail on the head by claiming that Ms. Colbert had slept with his family members. As you would expect, the judge was forced to ask him how he knew something like that happened. His response was nothing short of mind-blowing. He claimed she told him about it.
Yes, I did. It was 20 years before me and him got together. When me and him first started dating, I looked on his Facebook, and I was just being nosy because we starting to date. I want to investigate you. So I'm doing my investigation, and I see the picture of him and a mutual friend of ours, and come to find out it's his family member. So if we're gonna continue on in a relationship, Your Honor.
Newsflash, she didn't just sleep with one of his family members. At least that's what he was claiming in the courtroom. He said that when they broke up, the other family member came to him and told him that if he had mentioned he wanted to get married to her, he would have advised him against it because he also slept with her.
Did this family member say he had also slept with her?
Yes.
So there's one family member from 20 years ago and then this family member?
Yes.
Did she ever tell you about the second family member?
Never.
Ms. Colbert, did you sleep with the second family member?
I wouldn't even know what he talking about.
Then, not only that,
it was beyond a mess in the courtroom, with Ms. Colbert and Mr. Tubbins yelling at the top of their voices. Now Ms. Colbert was voicing out her complaints to the judge and telling her that all the while they were together. Mr. Tubbins never told his family members about her or her babies. Trust me, she was furious about it.
He hid my pregnancy. He didn't want nobody to know that we was even getting married. Why don't you be honest? You call yourself a man of God. Be a man of God and be honest, okay? Don't sit up here and try to paint me out like I'm no tramp when I was nice enough to let you in my home when you ain't have
you
nothing.
Asked me to come. You asked me.
I'm gonna ask you.
Even the judge was about to lose her temper with Mr. Tubbins. He had no evidence to show that the twins were not his children. All his doubts rested on the fact that he felt Ms. Colbert slept with his family members. To make things even worse, he had never seen the twins since they were born.
There'd be one in August. He ain't met him. He ain't looked at him. He ain't bought him a
Wait, hold on. They're about to be 1 year old.
Yes.
And he has never
looked at
seen them?
I take care of my kids. I have 4 kids that I take care of.
He wasn't making any sense to the judge anymore, so he decided to raise the argument about how the conception dates for the twins didn't add up to him. But Ms. Colbert was beyond ready for that fight, trust me.
The doctor said that she conceived on November 20th. We didn't have sex until November 30th.
No, we didn't.
Your Honor.
We had sex a couple days before the 28th, and then we had sex for the second time on the 28th. So we had sex 2 times in a week.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty. What would the outcome be? Is he the father, or has Ms. Colbert been lying all this time? Time to see what the future holds for them.
Mr. Tubbins, you are the twins' father.
I'm sorry, I'll take care of them, but I have reason for doubt. I have reason for doubt.
Oh,
I'll
really?
take care of them.
Okay, whatever.
For doubt.
Whatever.
Before you start acting silly in here off of emotion, you haven't even met your twins. You have 2 beautiful babies.
Ms. Luce was not here to joke. She was suing the defendant for a certain amount she used in taking care of her child. She also claimed there was no need for a DNA test because she was beyond positive that the child belonged to Mr. Zuniga. Mr. Zuniga, on the other hand, believed he was not the father and knew who the actual father was.
Ms. Luce, you are suing the defendant for $2,716.86 of back child care expenses for your son, Marley.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say there's no need for a paternity test because you're certain he is your baby's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Zuniga, you say you don't owe her a dime because you're not her son's father. You've petitioned the court for a lie detector test.
Now, Ms. Luce took to the floor and talked about how Mr. Zuniga abandoned her and her child for no reason. She claimed after the first 4 months of having her baby, he was beyond excited and didn't want anything more than to be the father of the child. But all that changed.
For the first 4 months of my son's life, he was there. He stepped up. He was a man. He wanted to be his father. He was excited about everything. And then all fell through. He abandoned us. I had to take care of my son alone, on my own. I had to pay for every little bit of the expenses, all the diapers, all the wipes, every single piece of clothing he needed. I have the receipts here.
Mr. Zuniga was trying to counter Ms. Luce's accusations, which stated that he had not done anything for either her or her child. He claimed she was lying and that most of the money he spent on her and her child, but Ms. Luce came prepared with receipts showing she had been taking care of her baby by herself.
He might have put money into the little things he needed then, but he didn't do anything else after that.
And you've presented to the court evidence of expenses you've had to incur.
By myself.
Including diapers, Similac, baby food, feeding set, bibs, onesies, all things a baby needs.
He was trying all he could to paint Ms. Luce as an unfaithful woman who liked the jump from one man to the next. But trust me, that did not last long. Ms. Luce admitted she did sleep with other men, but that was after their relationship had ended.
Well, I found out that she never really stayed in relationships long. She liked to jump from guy to guy.
Miss Luce, were you sleeping with other men when you were sleeping with Mr. Zuniga?
No, not one. I did sleep with a few men after him, but I was only sleeping with him when we were together.
Okay,
But
Mr. Zuniga, do you have any other
children?
children?
No, ma'am. I've always thought I was sterile.
Here's where things escalate to the next level. Mr. Zuniga gave an instance where a random woman walked up to him and told him that Ms. Luce had been sleeping with her husband whenever Mr. Zuniga was away for work. Trust me, the courtroom was shocked to hear that revelation.
She was cheating on me the whole time with her husband, and he looks just like the father. Red hair and blue eyes.
Okay, so the gentleman he's talking about, Ms. Luce, have you had a relationship with this man?
I did have sex with him. There was the relationship, but that was after we split.
Well, the big question on Judge Lauren's mind was how long they had been together. I mean, if you ask me, they should have been together for quite some time to have this kind of mess. That was not the case. They had been in a relationship for only 2 weeks.
Did you say 2.5 weeks?
Yes, Your Honor. As far as I know, she could have been pregnant before I even got with her.
Why are you young people running around having unprotected sex with people you knew for 2 weeks?
The most shocking thing then went on to happen in the courtroom. Ms. Luce had a witness who was going to back her claim that Mr. Zuniga was the father. The witness was none other than Mr. Zuniga's mom. I'm pretty sure you didn't see that coming, did you? Well, she sure wasn't here to take her son's side.
I love my son, don't get me wrong. I really honestly love my son, and I would be on my son's side, but his reasonings are crazy to me. What makes you have a baby? Sex. What did they do? Have unprotected sex. I submitted pictures earlier to the courts of how much they look alike.
It was no longer a battle between Ms. Luce and Mr. Zuniga. Ms. Luce had Mr. Zuniga's mother backing her up so good, you would honestly think his mother was actually Ms. Luce's mother.
I drove there because I didn't believe the kid was gonna come
Oh,
out looking like
no. Your Honor, can I stop
When
for a
I
minute?
drove there, I wanted to validate that he
Oh,
would be
no,
my
no,
kid.
no.
I got there, he looked nothing like me. He
No.
looked a lot like that
So
kid that
when you heard the
she
baby was
cheated on.
coming, you drove 3.5 hours. You said, I want to go see this baby.
No, Your Honor.
Yes.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
I did at first, and then she lost the paperwork.
Judge Lauren had seen enough of the drama in Mr. Zuniga and Ms. Luce's situation. It's finally time to reveal the truth and clear the doubts that were flying around in the courtroom. Who do you believe the father of the child is?
Mr. Zuniga, you are his father.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. You tell him you're sorry.
But look at him.
You tell him you're sorry. Look at him. Yes, look at him. Maybe that's yours.
But you lied.
Okay, but look at you.
Yes, I may
All right,
have
we're
lied
getting over
compared
that.
to
We're getting
whatever
over
test
that.
says it. He is your son.
Mr. Hudson was beyond furious with Ms. Bridges. Why? She led him to believe that he was the biological father of her son, then went on to break his heart by telling him she slept with another man. Ms. Bridges didn't deny the fact that she was intimate with another man, but she had every reason to believe that Mr. Hudson was her child's father.
Mr. Hudson, you claim the defendant led you to believe you were her son, Ja'Cory's biological father, then dropped a bomb and admitted she slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're in court to prove you are not her son's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bridges, you admit to sleeping with another man, but claim that you have no doubt Mr. Hudson is your child's biological father.
Now, Ms. Bridges and Mr. Hudson had been together for 5 solid years. Around this period was when Ms. Bridges got pregnant, and Mr. Hudson automatically believed he was the father, because at the time, she was the only one she was sleeping with, or so he was led to believe.
So you were there throughout the pregnancy,
Yes,
and you were
ma'am.
taking care of her. You all lived together.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a relationship.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
you thought this baby was yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you at the birth?
Yes, Your Honor. I was at the hospital. I took her to doctor's appointments. I was there. I cut the umbilical cord, Your Honor. I even signed the birth certificate on the day of the birth.
The truth bomb couldn't have picked a better time to be dropped, trust me. At one of their son's birthday parties, Mr. Hudson and Ms. Bridges got into a heated argument, and that's when the truth jumped out of Ms. Bridges' mouth that she slept with another man.
And so, Mr. Hudson, you say this bomb she dropped. When did she drop this bomb?
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. But I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
Since Mr. Hudson found out that his girlfriend cheated on him, he hasn't been in the child's life at all. It's not like he didn't want to be in his son's life, but he claimed he had no way of contacting his child because Ms. Bridges wouldn't let him see the baby.
I have no way of getting in contact with him. I can't talk to him. I can't see him.
He knows my auntie number. I gave it to him plenty of times. You just making things up just not to be in the baby's life.
So is it your inability to get in contact with the child really what's holding you back, or is it the fact that you don't truly know?
I mean, Ms. Bridges admitted to cheating, so there was a high chance that there were possibly 2 different men who could be the fathers of the child. The big question now is, what's making her so certain that the child belongs to Mr. Hudson and not the guy she slept with?
I've been there, correct. I took care of her when the time when she had no one else to take care of her.
Yes, and I
I
appreciate
took
that
the part.
for everything.
I did everything. She didn't have to do nothing but go to school. I paid all the bills. I worked 2 jobs
Yes.
at the age of 18.
He feels like you led him to believe he was the father.
Mr. Davis, the man she had a sexual relationship with outside of her initial relationship with Mr. Hudson, walks into the courtroom and his mouth is filled with so many truth bombs, believe me. The crazy thing was that Mr. Davis also thought he was the father of her child.
Me and Miss Bridges met. We hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, and I see a picture of her son. And immediately I think her son looks like my nephew. About a year after that, she came to me. She's like, oh, well, can you tell me the days that...
Now, Ms. Bridges couldn't get her story right with the judge, and it was really starting to piss her off. First, she claimed she knew for a fact that Mr. Hudson was the child, but she left out the part where she also made it known to Mr. Davis that he could also be a potential father.
But I mean, if
you
know
told-
that's short, and what was the point of coming to me and saying anything at all?
Because, like, I was just adding up the dates to see how. I was just adding up the dates. He said it was wrong.
Okay, but then
so
you came right back
I came to you.
You came right back to me, and when I asked you why you asked the second time, you're like...
Hold your breath now, because the DNA test results are ready to be revealed. The tension was escalating, with emotions running high, and the truth was about to hit like a plot twist. Who's the real baby daddy? Let's see.
Mr. Hudson, you are not his father. Mr. Davis, you are not his father. This courtroom is in shock. This is not what anyone expected today.
Mr. Page was beyond upset in the courtroom. Trust me, he was willing to bring down the roof on everyone if he was given the chance. His ex-fiancée cheated on him, moved his son to another state, and decided to marry the man she cheated on him with. To make things worse, she didn't deny it.
Mr. Page, you claim your ex-fiancée and the mother of your 3-year-old son cheated on you and then took your son to another state to marry the man she cheated with. Now you say Miss Sutton also has a 2-year-old daughter whom she claims is yours, even though her husband has been raising her as his own.
Now, Mr. Page was asked to talk about why he and his ex-fiancée split in the first place. The sentence that dropped from his mouth would make you understand the intensity of his frustration.
My ex-fiancée, Alicia, cheated on me and moved to another state with my son. And then...
So wait, back me up. Back up for a second, Mr. Page.
Can I start?
You're together.
we was together, Your Honor.
You're engaged.
Yes.
And then you found out she was cheating.
Yes.
Tell
she
me
started
about
like this.
this.
She said she on her girlfriend.
To make things worse, Ms. Sutton, who happened to be the ex-fiancé in the picture, wasn't denying any of the claims. The big question is how they both got themselves into such a messy situation. Ms. Sutton had her own side of the story to tell, and it sure seemed like Mr. Page was no saint either.
Let me hear from you from the beginning, Ms. Sutton.
First of all, we have a 3-year-old son, and yes, he was there at the birth of my son. But the reason why I cheated, because you was never home. You want to do what you want to do, smoking, drinking. If I'm hearing you out doing all these things, why I can't go do it?
Ms. Sutton claimed that she was getting information from people that suggested that Mr. Page was doing some funny business with women while he claimed to be out working. What was even more mind-blowing about where she got the information was that she got the news from Mr. Page's friends.
He's in other girls' face and all that stuff. I said, okay, you can be in other females' face, but what is he doing with these females? Oh, you don't even want me to tell you.
That's
how they go. You don't even want me to tell you. If your homeboy is saying you don't even want me to tell, that means you sleeping with her. You sitting up here acting like I was such a hoe and I cheated.
Him about this?
These two couldn't stand each other one bit. In his defense, Mr. Page claimed that he was an unhappy person in their relationship, and that when he was sad, he would go out to drink his sorrows away. But Ms. Sutton was hell-bent on believing that anytime he went out, he always went to sleep with someone else.
So now I just...
Okay, so that gives you a reason to cheat. If you unhappy?
I went out and drank late night. I went out and drank with my son.
So you were out hanging out,
yes,
and you were drinking, but you weren't cheating.
Yes,
now,
never cheated.
Miss Sutton, when you heard was that he was out sleeping around.
I didn't believe it at first because I want to find out on my own. I'm not just finna believe no females.
Here's where things start to get intense. Mr. Page was already having his suspicions that Miss Sutton had been messing around with someone new. He wasn't sure who it was, so he decided to find out. His detective instincts were pretty good because he found the man who she had been sleeping with.
My fiancé Alicia Sutton, he started saying right there, he said, I'm sorry. That should never happen. I said, did you sleep with Alicia? He said, yes, I did.
Okay.
At that time, my one tear dropped in my eyes.
Just one?
One tear just dropped. I promise you. A tear dropped in my eyes, my heart felt like it was upon my hand.
This case was taking a spin for the worst. All you could feel for Mr. Page was sadness because Ms. Sutton really did him dirty. Moving on, Mr. Cooper wasn't just her new man. Oh, trust me, he was way more than that. They were married, and to make things worse, he was claiming he was the father of her baby.
The last 2 years, I've taken care of this baby. I've done everything I could. She's mine. I feel it in my heart that she's mine. You know, despite what happened between Alicia and I and her ex-fiance, I accept that. I'm sorry for that. But when Alicia told me she was pregnant, you know, I was excited, you know.
No, you was not excited, because when
yes, he was excited.
When I told you, you told me that this child is not yours.
The stakes were high for both Mr. Page and Ms. Sutton. On one side, Mr. Page was desperately hoping the baby was going to be his. On the other hand, Ms. Sutton was hoping the baby belonged to her husband so she could save her marriage. Well, let's see who goes home with butterflies in their stomach.
Mr. Page, you are her father. No emotion, what are you feeling?
I always want a precious daughter. That's my first daughter in the family, and I'm gonna love her and raise her.
Mr. Cooper, I see you feeling very emotional. I know this wasn't the news you wanted.
She's still mine.
Over my dead body, that's my daughter.